found, especially for models, go and buy your stuff from nail supply places. These nail places with those little ladies doing nails, they are not gonna pay high dollar for emery boards and stuff like that. So you can get cheap, you can get everything from like 80 grit, remove a whole lot of material sanding boards, all the way up to 5,000 and 7,000 grit sanding boards. And you can get a whole pack of them for like $5. All right, these things are great, they last forever, and you can use those to sand off the seams and do all the stuff like that. So once you have everything set up and you dry fit and try it together and make sure everything's gonna work, all right, if you're not doing any extra special light up stuff that I like doing, which is a later thing, I didn't start off doing that, then you wanna go ahead and use your plastic cement to put it together. I mean, and realistically, building is very straightforward and easy. All right, and the plastic cement. Oh, yes, please.
For the sanding, would that also apply to 3D printing?
Yes, but one thing I want you to do if you're 3D printing, especially if it's a resin print, wear your mask. All right, because resin printing, the resin is very not good for your lungs. So always wear a mask if you're doing anything that's going to particleize it or put it into a small form that can be rated in. All right, wear a mask. But yeah, the sanding works great on that. And the sanding, one thing that I had to learn the hard way is you only use like the 80 grit and the 100 and the 180 grit to remove a lot of material. All right, and then every grit after that, you're getting rid of the scratches that you created with that lower grit sandpaper. And so that's what you want to do. You want to start with lower grit just to remove that that big lump or big seam, and then after that just slowly go to the higher level of sandpaper until it's baby smoothing, and then you're good to go. And then once you get everything glued together and you let it set, do not. This is one thing I did when I was a kid, was trying to glue everything all together at once and not let it sit and solidify, and then wonder why I'm looking at it and why I'm actively looking at it, the thing is sagging. Because I didn't let it set so it could carry the weight. And so once you get all the parts put together and everything's good, and you let it set for a day or two, then you can get to the painting. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going into painting. The easiest way to do it is first you want to put down a primer coat. And a primer coat, what that does is you're usually using something like I use like a Rust-Oleum or Army Painter. I love Army Painter primer coats. They're really good. They're a little expensive, but they're really good. But those are normally lacquer based. All right, and lacquer is a very aggressive paint. And what we'll do is it will grab a hold of that plastic and give you a good foundation that you can do your acrylic paint onto afterwards. Because acrylic paint, there's so many different colors and so many things you can do with acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is a wimp, and if there's anything between it and the plastic, it won't stick very well. So put down a nice primer coat, and then you can start working with your acrylics. And the great thing about acrylics is they are not costed like the lacquer paints and the enamel paints. It used to be you just had enamel paints, tester paints, master paints, enamel paints. You build it in a small room and it was your first time you ever got contact on it. But you don't have to do that no more. Acrylic paints are really good. They don't have all those problems. They're very easy to work around. And then after you get the paint done and set up, which you want to let it set for like a day or two. I mean, this is when you're really getting into your painting and your modeling. Then you want to do a clear coat over that to protect that paint. And then you'll put your water slide decals on, or some places call them decals if you're overseas. And those are the special stickers that go on. And when I was a little kid, I had no idea how water slide decals worked, and there was no YouTube because I'm an old man. And so trying to go off the thing on the box, and I completely ruined it. And so I was really turned off on water slide for the longest time until I figured out how to get them to work. And then putting those on, now is, it's the home stretch. You know you're on the home stretch when you're putting those down. But one of the problems, and this is me just freeforming here, one of the problems with water slide decals is when you put them down, if the undersurface that you're putting it on is not a nice, smooth, clear coat, and you want to use a gloss clear coat, not a matte clear coat, there is a possibility for it to get small air pockets underneath, and then the water slide decal will do what's called silvering. It'll get a silver sheen to it because there's tons of miniature little air pockets underneath because you didn't have a smooth surface. If you use the gloss coat, that gives you more of a smooth surface. You're not going to get the silvering effect as much. And then after you're done with that, then you can put whatever top clear coat that you want on top to protect it. If you're doing something like a pretty car, you want a nice gloss coat so it looks like like you got a nice shiny car. Or if you're going for something more industrial, you want to go with a matte coat so you don't have the shine. But then at that point, you're done and you built something. And I have a theory. My theory is right now that Legos, which are great, I love Legos. I got a huge R2D2, I got a Saturn V, I love Legos. Legos have taken over what used to be modeling in the US. And for anybody here who has built Legos, and you know how it is, all of us with a touch of autism, you start building out Legos and you don't stop until the whole thing's done. You're just opening bags and doing it, opening bags and doing it. Next thing you know, you got a 2,000 piece part that's all put there and you're like, I'm done. I'm all done. And you spend an afternoon on it. This is the next step. This is the next step where you can take weeks or more, or months, if you want, going hardcore on a model, and you can make it your own, and it doesn't end up looking like something that is cool, but designed for Minecraft. All right, and I personally, I've graduated past Legos, and now I do scale modeling, and not a thing against Legos. I love Legos to death. I just wish that scale modeling has as much options as Legos do. Okay. Rewards, extremely fast assembly for immediate model satisfaction. You don't need a big workspace. You can do this in a small workspace. I started off just on the kitchen table and kept everything in a tackle box. Now I have my own room with multiple 3D printers and shelves and all the stuff like that. But that's not how I started off. I started off, everything can be put back away and just put in the corner. You don't need a lot of space to do this. There's people who do it in their dorm rooms. There's people who do it in their barracks. You don't need a lot of space to put these together and paint. Let's see, washes. Oh, that's the thing with, especially when it comes to miniatures, is there are different washes that you can use that do some amazing effects. Army Painter has washes that they use. They're so into washes with their techniques, they have whole pint cans that are filled with wash. They call them dips. It's a wash, you just dip the whole thing in and you have your stuff off to the side. They're great things. And they give you instant shading, panel line shading and stuff like that. And basically what a wash is, it's just a paint that's been thinned down to it's almost like water. And so it flows off easy. So there's wash and variety. That's one of the big things is now in this golden age with the internet and 3D printing, there is an endless variety. There are sites that I go to that are just for my particular fetish, which is starships. There are Gambody and Fab 365 and Model Workshop and stuff like that that are just specifically all they do is models. And like Gambody has that Planet Express ship down there that I'm working on. That one is from Gambody. If you, who here's been to the Burrow? We all know the Burrow? If you look up in the ceiling of the Burrow, you see the Orville spaceship hanging up there? That's mine. I built that one from the model at Gambody, and that's a nice 3-foot model. But regardless of what your particular, genre that you want to build, it's out there. And, I warn you, if you get into 3D printing, that's a whole nother hobby as well. But it's a fun hobby, and I've got 4 printers. Let's see. Beyond the basics, advanced tools. As you get more and more into it, you don't have to start off buying every damn tool in the world. I mean, you can just start off with like that one kit. I used the brush out of my first kit for forever until it fell apart. And the flush cutters, the type of cutters that you want to use to cut parts off a sprue, they're technically called flush cutters, because normal wire cutters, they're also known as dikes. All right, diagonal cutters, they're dikes. And if you look down at them, they don't cut flush, they leave a little bit sticking up. And you don't want that, you want to cut as flush as possible. You can pick up a set of flush cutters, $5, no problem. But that's how you want to take stuff off of sprues, is with a flush cutter. I have cheap flush cutters because I'm cheap. And that's all there is. There are flush cutters out there, there's ones I've heard of. I've heard of whispered on the wind. They're called God hand sprue cutters. We're talking $50, $60 for a single set of cutters. But the people who have them swear up and down. Personally, I'll just use my cheaper cutters and then just go ahead and use a hobby knife to shave off any extra. I'm fine. But you can start off with the cheap stuff and then move your way up. When I started airbrushing, the first airbrush I got this cheap kit that basically the compressor was something that you would use on a fish tank. It was horrible, and the airbrush was horrible too. And then when I didn't realize the paint I was using was lacquer, and then I used an enamel thinner trying to clean it out, and I completely gummed the whole thing up. I chuck it in the fucking bucket, I'm done with that one. And then I moved up to a high dollar, $30 airbrush, which if anybody knows anything about airbrushes, $30, that's nothing. But I got me a Masters, I think it's like 2300 or 3200 airbrush. And that's the one I use 90% of this day. To this day I use it, and what I love about it is, it's a cheap airbrush, and I can get parts for it, because you are it's got a needle and nozzle and stuff like that, you're gonna damage the crap out of that needle. You're gonna damage that nozzle. And I can pick up a 3-pack of needles and nozzles off of Amazon for $12, and it comes with a cleaning kit, and does all this great thing. Now, like 2 or 3 years ago, my mommy, she got me for Christmas a Iwata airbrush, an Iwata Nito, which is mid-range airbrush. There's ones out there that are $400 or $500 airbrushes. This Iwata Nito is like it's about a $90 to $100 airbrush. It was like stepping from a Chevy to a Cadillac. The thing is amazing, but I can't find repair parts. And the few parts I can find, replacement needles and nozzles, well, what it cost me for one needle for the Iwata, I can pick up a 5-pack for the Masters. So when people ask me what my best airbrush is, well, yeah, I've got this really great one, but the one I use 98% of the time, that's my best airbrush. So just because it's a higher priced tool doesn't mean it's a better tool for you, especially if you're a cheap bastard like me and you don't want to spend money on it. But the airbrush, I love the airbrush. I use the airbrush for everything I can, even though there is lots of hassle with airbrush when it comes to changing colors, when it comes to cleaning. You have to learn how to do all that stuff, which I'm not going to get into. It is a hassle, but once you get it down, the difference between airbrush and brush painting, and you'll see it over there when you go and take a look at my first little model, that little BF-109, the Bloodhound Survivor. That was brush painted, and it looks brush painted. It looks like my mommy was proud of me and put it up on the refrigerator. It's not a very good paint job, but that's the first one I did. Now, if you look at like the Enterprise there, that one was all airbrush. And the difference between airbrush and paintbrush is huge. And it looks great. Now, you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. Like I said, that Masters airbrush set that I got was $30. And that's a great airbrush. Does everything I needed to do. And then after that, once, you know, you start doing that, the bug's gonna bite you even more. And that's when you start getting into special effects. My thing was lighting. As you can see, I like doing lighting. And that's something about Star Trek models. Star Trek models really kind of plain. And if you want them to pop, because Star Wars models, they got all the little doodads and stuff that you see all over Star Wars models. There's a technical name for those. They're called greebles. All right? And all those greebles and everything like that make them look interesting and more industrial and really breaks up the monotony of a flat surface. Star Trek models don't have that. So in order to get them to pop, lighting is the way to go. And so I went into lighting. And the very first lighting kit that I got, because I didn't know what I was doing, knew nothing about how to do LEDs or anything like that. I went and it was for 1000 NX01 that I was doing. And I went online and I found a lighting kit. Ooh, I was so happy. I found a lighting kit, $50. And I bought it and it showed up. It was 8 damn LEDs and a little string of fairy lights all going to a 2 AA battery pack that I swear the guy had $5 in. All right, and I paid $50 for it. And I may have mentioned it already. I'm a cheap bastard. And I was like, no. Daryl's gonna learn how to do this. And because of that, and what I've learned, this model here, if I were to buy the lighting kit that I constructed for that lighting kit would have cost me $100 plus online. I built it for $12. And that is just at the beginning. The amount of stuff that I can do with what I have uncovered with ESP32s and WS2812 individually addressable LEDs and all the stuff like that. My lighting kits here in the future are going to be amazing, and I can't wait to do them once I get over being lazy. But yeah, and with this, there's all kinds of neat things that you can do. There's lighting, there's special effects, there's stuff you can do with the paint jobs that just make everything just amazing. I have done some paint jobs doing Aztecing with iridescent acrylic inks that shimmer in the correct light. There is no end to where you can go to, and once you go online, there are people out there that you will see do stuff that will make you feel bad. There's one guy, Bill Krause. I know his name. I don't know him, but I know of him, and he is no longer on my Christmas card list because he is so good. I will never be able to be where he is. I could quit my job this day, spend the rest of my life doing these models. I will never be as good as Bill Krause. But that doesn't mean I don't like looking at his stuff. It's not just the outside of his models. His wire runs inside are a work of art. The way he just I hate him. Anyway, so do not let what other people out there are doing make you feel bad. There's always going to be somebody better out there, and get over it. Just do the best you can do. My goal is, with every model I do something new that I've never done before. And what did I learn? What did I get wrong? I get stuff wrong all the time, and I just try to remember not to do it the next time. And that's all you have to do. Start crappy and get a little bit better each time.
I wasn't here for it earlier, but I'll throw into that, because I look at your stuff all the time. I'm like, there's no way I can do all the electronics you do and stuff. But then you give me a Nightcrawler bust, and I think I can take you. Like, so I just had to paint.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
John here is an exercise. He and I, when it comes to painting, are diametrically opposed.
Yeah,
All
very
right?
different.
He is an artist. All right, I am a technician. All right, he will sit there, and when he's painting something, he will sit there with his, okay, I'll mix this together, mix this together, blah, blah, blah. Boom, it's beautiful. All right, it's amazing. He cannot stand me because I will sit there, okay, I'm doing 3 drops of this, 7 drops of this, I'm writing it down, I'm making sure everything is repeatable. So that way, if I need to, I can go back, remix it, get the same thing again. I've got it documented in apps, exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, where I'm applying it. And it drives him nuts that I am that technical about it. And it drives me nuts watching him just sit there, splash a couple colors together, and all of a sudden he's coming out with something beautiful. I hate artists.
Like that was my point though, is like, even when you look at something, you go, they do it gorgeous, you just do it different, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is one thing I gotta say about my technique, different from his technique, is my technique is centered around repeatability. All right, I want to be able to repeat. Matter of fact, there's an app that I use. It's called PaintPal, and in it I have a complete log of every paint that I get. I can scan the barcode. It's in my inventory. I know exactly what I have. I can color match. Okay, yeah, I'm bad. I got a touch of the chisel. All right. If it was any worse, I'd be building model trains. Which is nothing wrong. Those model train people, oh my God,
My husband's
they
a
are
model
amazing.
train
Matter of
guy.
fact, there's a place, what is it called? It's called Miniature Wunderland in Hamburg. Everybody's heard of this place.
Yeah.
This place is a model train person's, nirvana.
Yeah.
It is amazing. I want to go there and check it out sometime. You all know about it. I can't give it any more props than it is. All right. You're gonna glue your fingers together. It's gonna suck. You're gonna mess up. You gotta be careful with the hobby knife. You will bleed. All right. Hobby knives are sharp. You're gonna mess things up. One of the key things to learn as you grow your skill in modeling is how to fix your mess ups. Because you're gonna, okay, let me tell you, all right? I'm just gonna kill my computer. This son of a bitch. And John was there when I realized it. Remember, we were doing a podcast? And I
Oh,
was
yes,
like,
yes, I know
I was
what
like,
you're
yeah,
talking
and then I was like, oh, fuck. All right. This thing I have pulled apart and glued together so many times because these nacelles, they got an outboard and an inboard on each of these nacelles. Somehow, and this is after I put them together and I sanded everything because it got the big seam lines. I sanded everything smooth and had it all down to like 2,000 grit and had everything big and smooth and everything was connected. And then I realized I glued together 2 outsides and 2 insides. So I had to take it all apart. And keep in mind, I've already run the wiring in these things. So I took it all apart and I glued it back together. And I did it again. And I'm sitting there going, how in the bloody hell did I do this again? All right? And then I realized that when I did the wiring runs and glued the wiring runs down, I glued the wiring runs in such a way that if I were to do it the correct way, there would be 2 wire runs, and then no wire runs. So I had to completely rip out the wire runs, redo the wire runs, get that finally together, very hot under the collar. And then I had this saucer section all together with the lighting going in and everything set up, and I drop it on the frickin' floor. And then I put it all back together and get it all glued back together, and these seams around here where they go together, the worst. And I sand it all down, back down, get it all done, get it all there. It's all good. And then I realized the fiber optics that I put in had broken off, and I needed to pull it all apart and put the fiber optics back in. I have re-glued this kit so many freaking times, and I learned. You learn, and I also learned at that point what I was trying to work on was my electronics, not necessarily how good it was. So if you come and look, you'll find that after that 5th time of putting it back together, screw it, it is what it is. I'm not sanding it no more. But I learned how to do electronics, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, you're gonna learn, you're gonna mess up. If you think everything's gonna be perfect the first time around, then you're only gonna be doing Bandai kits, which are beautiful kits. I mean, literally, these things are so tight and so precise that when you are painting, if you paint parts before you put them together, which you do a lot of times, it depends on your order of operations. If you get any paint, just one layer of airbrushed paint on the tab A that goes into slot B, that will have made it too thick and they no longer fit together, so you have to scrape that paint on so it'll still go back together. That's how precise the Bandai kits are. They are amazing kits, and I suggest them wholeheartedly if you don't want to learn how to fix your photos. Let me see. It's for those of us who need to get away. Those of us who have to use pharmaceuticals to socialize, which I am right now, this is great because I can just go into the back room that I have set up. All right, the wife knows where I'm at. She needs me, she comes, gets me, smacks me around, whatever needs to happen. Sometimes money's on the dresser. But I can just go back there. I don't listen to music because I don't like doing it. I don't have any, I mean, I have the computer there if I need to reference something, but I'm not playing anything. I like it quiet because that's what I like. You do what you want to do, and you can just recharge your battery for when you're ready to go back out and experience humanity through those viruses with shoes. And it's really good for that, all right, for those who need to get away, all right? And also, for those who got the ADHDs, my squirrel people, my people who are just constantly squirreling, this is great. It's great for you because it'll teach you, a little bit at a time, how to focus in. You don't have to spend a long time, because I can disappear for hours. I can just go away. But this will teach you to build your patience. Okay, I need to do this, all right? You figure out your order of operation, what you're gonna do, all right? Learn that you need to do, once you start something, you need to finish that before you can step away, because once you apply some of these chemicals on, you're on a countdown, baby. You need to get this shit done, all right? And it will also help you with the problem solving, and also, if you stick to it, it'll help you finish projects, which is a big problem, all right? And it's great, because once you get done with it, you got it. But keep in mind, all of us doing this, we have what is technically known as our shelf of shame, all right? That's where you started something, and for whatever reason, you set it off to the shelf and didn't finish it. I had one that was sitting on the shelf for a year and a half because it pissed me off that the light wasn't working correctly inside of the cell that I was making, and I had to take the whole thing apart, put in a resistor. It's all. But you have that, and one thing you have to watch out for is, and everyone is bad about this. I don't care who you are, I don't care where you come from or what. We are all bad at slowly drifting from being model makers to model collectors. All right? Right now, I have myself on a very strict, I can only buy a new model once a model is done. And my stash has about 60 kits in it. And I know that sounds like a lot. It's not. At one point on one of the forums, I took a picture of all this stuff. I was like, oh, my stash is getting kind of bad. You know what every response was? I can still see the wall. You got a ways to go. You got space all over there. There are people out there. I thought it was bad when I heard people having 300-400 kits in their stash. There are people out there with thousands of kits. They have whole storage facilities and garages filled with kits that they will never complete. Try really hard not to be a model, unless that's your thing. If your thing is model collecting, if your thing is buying models, power on, all right? But try to stay away from it if you want to be a model builder. I know I'm bad about it. I am. I just got all right. There are local communities. Our local communities are very sparse right now, and I want us to build up our local communities. There is a local IPMS chapter here in Wichita. IPMS is the International Plastic Modeling Society. I forgot to mention. If you join, it's like $30 a year. And you don't have to join the IPMS. You can just show up at the meetings, which is every third Saturday of the month. Matter of fact, I missed the meeting today to be doing this stuff. Great bunch, guys. Sorry, it's all guys. They're all old. I look young there. But they're small little gathering. The South Broadway, south of 47th Street South, the Baptist Church on the west side. That's where they meet once a month. But they're really great people, open to everybody being there. Lots of knowledge. They're constantly exchanging. Oh, have you tried this? This is what I'm doing with this. I was having some problems with photo etch, which is a whole other thing we're not going to get into because it's evil. and they gave me some great ideas on getting my paints to stick to the photo etch. But yeah, that's the IPMS, and if you actually pay and join the actual the IPMS, it's like $30 a month. I mean, $30 a year, pardon me. And you get like 6 different magazines a year that they send to you with, highlighted models and stuff like that, which are still 90% World War II stuff, but they throw in some Gundam and some stuff. But they're great people, and they don't gatekeep. The closest I came to gatekeeping is one of the guys jokingly, because they all do models of stuff that were real. All right, and I brought in, one of my spaceships, and they were like, it was actually that one. And I was able to stop the guy really fun too, because he's like, "Oh, where's the real one at?" I was like, "I was in the Smithsonian." And he's like, "Oh, you weren't supposed to say that." I know, so shut up. But yeah, they're really great people, and they have an annual model festival that is in October. It's a one-day thing, and people come and bring their models. There's a couple vendors there, so you can, buy some model kits and stuff like that. It's nothing much, but it's just like $2-3 to get in. And you get to see some people have done some really, really cool stuff. I took some photos last time. My favorite one was this, the classic 1960s circular spaceship that landed next to a farm, and you saw, it was a little diorama, and you saw the alien going into the outhouse, all right, because apparently he needed to do a pit stop. That was a fun diorama. I like that one. But yeah, they've got some really cool stuff there. But global. All right, let's talk about Asia, kids. All right, they're smoking us. All right, can't let them win. All right, the model shows over in Japan and China are amazing. The biggest one is the Shizuoka Hobby Show one. I wrote down some attendance numbers. They blow me away. All right. Where's it at? What is it? All right, the Shizuoka Hobby Show in Japan. This is the biggest one. All right, it's a couple-day show. The last year, their attendance was between 70,000 and 100,000 people. All right, these are shows that rival San Diego Comic-Con. All right, and it's all centered around modeling. All right, and it's Asia, so it's Gunpla and anime. All right, the next one is the All Japan Model and Hobby Show. That one is 40 to 50,000 people show up to that one, and I think that one is like a 2-day show. There's Hobby Expo in China. That one is 70,000 plus is what they get there. Wonderfest in Japan. Now, Wonderfest in Japan, it happens twice a year. They have their summer and their winter Wonderfest, and each of them is a 1-day show. All right, and they get in up to 50,000 people in their 1-day show. And keep in mind, this is people bringing in models. I mean, they're to see, but there's also a whole bunch of people that bring in models. I was listening to a podcast from overseas, and they were talking about a model show. I think it was either in UK or it was in Czechoslovakia. And they said that, no, it was the UK. They said just in models that people had on tables for judging, they had over 12,000 models that people had put down for judging. And then in the US, we have IPMS National. This is going to make us seem really bad. US history. IPMS Nationals, which is the International Plastic Model Show Nationals, they normally bring in 5,000 plus over the weekend. And Wonderfest is the big one. Wonderfest is the one that happens in Kentucky every year. And it is more geared around figures and dioramas and stuff like that. They're not so much World War II as they are more stuff that we would like. They get in 7,000 plus people a year. And one of the things I like about these model shows is, for the longest time, it has been, you know, when they do their contest, you know, and they break it down, you know, World War II aircraft, you know, gunpla, sci-fi, whatever. And they break it down, and then you would have someone wins silver, someone wins copper or bronze, and someone wins gold. And so you have 3 winners. There has been a gradual shift right now at these model shows. Instead of doing that, what they're doing is they're having their judges go through and they judge the models on a whole, and they let the individuals know when they rank them, the quality of your model is silver quality. All right, so you're not only going to have one silver. Everybody who has done silver quality gets silver quality. Everybody who has done gold quality gets a gold award. All right, so it's not just 3 people and everybody else is, you know, chewing on nails. It is, they judge you based on the quality of your of what you do, and so that's something that's going on right now. And I like that. Was there anything else? No, that was my last slide. But it's half an hour. Alibaba. Ooh, there's a sale on some LEDs. Now let's start off. Any questions? All right. What kind of modeling are we all thinking that we might like to try? Any ideas?
I don't know. I
What you
hate
got, Horsey?
models and model horses. And a friend of mine wants me to try to get into Warhammer because his bookshelf of shame is too big and he wants help.
No.
It's no longer a shelf of shame, it is a bookshelf of shame.
You charge him for storage.
Trust me, I will.
Now, like some of the places I go to for models, like one that John turned me on to. Oh,
He's getting close, so I wasn't trying to like.
Oh, God, I thought I started at 3. I started at 2:30. I've been talking a long time.
Wait, I know. I wasn't trying to kick you out.
Some of the places I go to for models. All right, if you're looking for some plastic models, I love Cult TV Man Shop. That's a good place for the actual plastic models. Round 2 is where I get a lot of my spaceships from, because that's what I'm into. But if you're looking to 3D print your own stuff, or have somebody else 3D print it for you, or whatever, I am a huge, and I constantly harp on it, like I'm trying to promote 7-Day Adventist or something, is Gambody, Gambody. And Gambody, their models are a little bit more expensive than others, but their customer service is, I've never seen customer service like that. Most other places, you buy a model, you're on your own. John knows about that one.
Yeah.
Gambody, like literally that Orville that I got hanging up in the burrow. I had at one point, when I was putting it together, I had a part that wouldn't fit where it was supposed to fit. They didn't make it deep enough for the thing to fit. And it's a Chinese company, so I wrote them before I went to bed. I'm like, hey, part number 17 isn't fitting into part number 19 because it doesn't fit right enough. And I added a couple pictures and referenced the part and sent it off to them. Next morning I woke up, I had an email back from them. We're absolutely sorry, we had our guy work on it. The new file is already up, go ahead and download it. All right, you don't get customer service like that. All right, their models are a little bit extra pricey, but it's worth every dime for that. All right, so I like Gambody. I also like Model Workshop. He's pretty good. Well, what I love about him is he differentiates Star Wars and Star Trek. Star Wars is science fantasy and Star Trek is science fiction,
Yeah.
which makes sense to me because Star Wars is samurai movies in space, and Star Trek is Shakespeare and Greek tragedies in space. Okay. So I like those. Fab365.net is a good one. I've gotten some good models off of there, some easier to build ones. Those are more snap to fit. And of course, you cannot go wrong with Maker World, printables, and all the good ones like that. But, so, any questions?
I was gonna say DC3 Art's real good for people who do like the comic book stuff like I do, but
And
it's more of
also
an
make
Etsy
sure-
of,
My
The only
mini
problem with that
factory
one-
too.
you're not gonna get that customer service you're gonna
Yeah.
get, not at all, yeah.
And the only other problem with that one is, be careful, they have a lot of not safe for work.
Oh, a lot,
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, you know, you're printing an anime pencil holder, it's amazing where your pencil's going.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've hit the hour. Any questions, anybody? Anybody wanna come up and take a look what I got here? Come on,
Yes.
come take a look.
I gotta say, my favorite part of your whole panel is when you talked about the shelf of shame. Staying at the back, I saw the couples looking at each other, going, yeah, yeah.
Take a
I'm
look.
surprised he didn't look over at me.
Onto the Wi-Fi and just change everything that it does.
And that's one of
And I did the little
I
flicker
haven't
lights,
finished it. I
and
did
that's
one last
Bilbo.
coat of,
I wanted to be in here for the whole thing. I wanted to hear what you had to say about the.
Soak that area down, all right? So it's got, you know, lots of stuff. So when you put the decal down,